Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Luxeley on the microphone, talking about some positive things coming out of Blizzard recently. Everyone knows who's watched a few of my videos knows I'm a pretty harsh guy on Blizzard and the devs and all that stuff. But some people call it negativity. I call it truth rage or even just truth. But truth has two sides to it. It's got the side that perceives to be negative, and it's got the positive side. Today I'm here to talk about a few of the positive things that I've seen coming out of Blizzard. Most of this pertains to classes, professions, and transmogs. Kind of three pretty cool things. Now, first thing they pointed out, Demon Hunters are going to start at level 98 right now. That key little phrase at the end of the sentence, right now, suggests it could change. I pretty much can guarantee it's not going to be any higher than level 98. Level 95, level 92, doesn't really matter where they start. I'm looking forward to playing a Demon Hunter. Leave it in the comments if you are too. Death Knights will continue to start at level 55. I'm not surprised. I mean, I didn't think that was going to change in any sort of way. Although, I can make a pretty strong argument that it would make sense to start Death Knights at level 65. One thing I always felt was a bit weird about DKs is they're Wrath of the Lich King, baby, and they come out of DK school all happy to enter the working world, all excited about trumpeting their way through WoW. And where do they go? Outlands. It just seemed to make sense that they go right into Northrend. So I could make a very strong argument they should start at level 65. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Demon Hunters will have a short transform with inner demon visuals. I don't know what that means. Sounds pretty cool, though. I guess there's some sort of metamorphosis going on with the class, kind of like currently what goes on with Demolocks. And Demolocks aren't going to be so happy because I think big changes are coming for them. But there's some sort of transformation, and I think that's going to be a pretty cool thing. Only Demon Hunters will be able to use glaives. How many rogues out there, went through good old Black Temple, grinded it, got to go to school? Nope, taking a day off. Got to go to work? Nope, taking it a day off. Have a date? Nope, screw it. Gonna go grind Black Temple to get those cool glaives. Does that mean that rogues can't use glaives now? Not a very good thing. Who knows? But I think I get the point. Blizzard wants to make Demon Hunters a bit unique, and I'm all for that. Double jump won't be disabled anywhere. This is a statement I think they're going to do a complete reversal on. I could see double jump being very, very overpowered in BGs. I really can, whether it be regular BGs, even arena, RBGs. I don't know. I really don't know. I can see a lot of people putting the pressure on Blizzard to take that away. I really do think that they could always end up making it something more of a cosmetic and trivial thing, not something that's a mechanic that gives you an edge. But this is Blizzard. They're going to give a mechanic that gives people an edge. And people in PvP are going to be pissed off, which means Blizzard will cave to the pressure. And they still may allow it in regular BGs and skirmishes, but I'm pretty confident they're going to not let it happen in RBGs and arena. Survival Hunters will get a harpoon ability that allows them to throw a spear to mobs and pull them towards them, aka Death Grip. Instead of just being a fictional hand, it's going to be a harpoon. Whatever it is, sounds pretty cool. I could think of the animation being pretty cool. For people who don't know, Survival Hunters are going to be truly distinct from BM Hunters and MM Hunters. It can be a melee hunter, which kind of spins the clock back to the original vanilla beta where Survival Hunters were melee-oriented. And were melee-oriented throughout, in some capacity, throughout BC and Lich King. It's once Kata came around that they started to move away from that. Actually, I think it was more so MOP when they did away with hunter weapons altogether, outside of the gun or the bow or crossbow. This is what got me really excited, this particular point. Most specs are getting overhauled, tweaking them to fit the fantasy of the spec. Then they throw out this little thing. Some will be renamed. That's pretty cool. You know, the typical transformation of anyone is changing their name. From Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader. Captain Picard to Locutus. So, if you're really going to change the spec's name, that is a very, very strong suggestion. You're really going to overhaul it and not necessarily bring back those class feels. I think they're still there. And this is one thing Blizzard has always done well, is immerse you into the class and immerse you into the race that you're playing. I played other MMOs, and Guild Wars 2 is kind of close to that, but Elder Scrolls Online didn't do it, WildStar didn't do it, and a long list of others didn't do it. Blizzard does it the best. And when they take something that they do very well and they're going to change it and try to make it better, let me sign on the dotted line for that. I'm pretty excited about that. Tell me what you guys think. Now, this really caught my attention because it kind of falls into my backyard. Some specs will use a rename source, such as Insanity, for Shadow Priests. What does that suggest? Shadow Orbs going away, or adding in a new resource with a new ability? Whatever it suggests, I think there's going to be a pretty big overhaul for Shadow Priests. I like Shadow Priests the way they are. If anything, I wish I had more defenses and less damage. But this suggests there's going to be a pretty drastic change going on with Shadow Priest. And like I said, this is an aspect of the game that Blizzard has always gotten right consistently. And I'm pretty confident they're going to get this right. And I'd like to see where they go with this. They might bring back that shadow weaving that Shadow Priest used to have back in Wrath of the Lich King and have it more of a dark, mysterious type of priest. I'm all for that. Let me sign on the dotted line. The sewer class hall for rogues looks great. Not really like a sewer at all. It will have treasure chests. Okay? That's great. Treasure chests. What every rogue wants. Every rogue wants glaives. They don't want treasure chests. But I think a lot of the rogues want Ravenhold to be their little class hall. I think the majority of them want that, and I always thought that that was a very underused aspect of the game, especially after BC. But like I said, this is the area of the game Blizzard has always gotten right. And I'm pretty curious to see what they do with rogues. It's a class that I've started to take a lot more interest in because I'm very interested in playing a thief in Guild Wars 2, and that kind of is very similar to a rogue in WoW, and it's kind of renewed my interest in rogues all of a sudden. So don't hold it against me, guys. No big update is planned for the Moonkin model, maybe some small tweaks. This isn't going to make Moonkin people very happy. And it'll go, whoa, whoa, you know, that squealy noise they make when they're pissed off or upset. And then they just, like, you know, look at like some fat kid pulling a tantrum because he can't have any ice cream. I don't know. I think that there needs to be an overhaul there. Some tweaks means, you know, changing the color blue to green. That's the translation for Blizzard. I don't think this is going to make a lot of Moonkin people happy. This is something they've been bitching about since Kata, maybe even before Kata. But this is something I think that's needed in the game, especially when you're changing a lot of other classes. I think you got to change this particular item. Blizzard, come on. I mean, I don't even play a Moonkin. I'm just going by what I read on the forums, what I've heard from people in pugs, and what I've heard from people in my guilds that I've been involved with. Blah, 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 blah. But Moonkins want a new form. That's the bottom line. No major glyphs will be added. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. I think some scribes might have a problem with that, but you know that there could be a long list of minor glyphs that have some cosmetic changes in line. But I don't know if this is such a good idea or bad. I don't know how to feel about this. I made a lot of money as a scribe. I have some major classes in the game, such as my mage and my DK that are scribes, and it's always been a good money maker, gold maker for me. I'd like to see some new, just for that sake, I'd like to see some new glyphs. But I understand that pool is kind of overcrowded, and it might be better off left alone. And if they add into a greater feel for the classes in the game, and introduce some new abilities and such and such and such, and I'm not going to be so worried. But I don't know. I do have mixed feelings about that. No gnome hunters yet. Maybe when it comes, or maybe when it makes sense to add them, they will. That's what they said. This is something they teased back towards the end of MOP and beginning of WoD, where they were talking about opening up certain races would be able to play certain classes. And this made the lore geeks, you know, pull a hissy fit, you know, like a caffeine fit or something. I don't know. You know, you could, when it comes to fiction and video games, especially MMOs, revolve around fiction, you could always make a case for something. I mean, they did that with WoD. They didn't do such a great job, but if you have the ability to suspend your belief, which most MMO fans, RPG fans do have because they're fans of Star Wars, fans of Game of Thrones, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings. If you like those franchises, you got to suspend your belief a little bit. And you could always say, well, the whatchamajig got together with the moon at the end of the month, and the world slid, and time parameters changed, yada, yada, yada. Next thing you know, gnomes could suddenly be hunters. You could always make up a story. And that was one thing I liked about Kata. I always wanted to play a human hunter. They opened it up to a human hunter, but that kind of thing made sense. I don't know if gnome hunters make sense, but you could always find a way to make it sense, have it make sense. You know, the fact is, there are things that evolve in the game. This game is on a timeline. And whenever you're on a timeline, things change. And this timeline's gone on for a solid 5, 10, maybe even 20 years. So the fact is, in that time frame, suddenly Worgen could learn how to be paladins. I would sign up for that. Or Draenei could learn how to be warlocks. Or rogues. Matter of fact, there were even some hints of Draenei rogues in WoD. So something like that, I could see being a possibility. Now, I'm going to move on to professions. There will be a single system to upgrade profession items. The current item will be destroyed, giving you a regent needed for the upgrade. All right, whatever. I never could make those big special items just simply because I don't raid, and most of those recipes fall in raids. And they're soulbound, and the ones that aren't soulbound, it's like 35 gold, you know, 35,000 gold to buy this and make this, and then by the time you buy it, and you can't get the mats because you don't raid. Nah, that's kind of a non-event to me. I don't think it's a big deal for anyone, to be honest, but leave it in the comments. Let me know if I'm wrong. A new team will be working on professions this time, including profession quest lines. All right. I think that's pretty cool. I don't like what they did with professions in this last X-Pack. They totally discounted everything necessary with gathering, and other than that, it wasn't so bad. But having herbs and ore right in your backyard, I don't think was a really good idea. But overall, I like the catch-up mechanism they had with professions, and it seemed to be something a lot more fluid that you could do. There was some gold to be made with them, especially in the beginning of the X-Pack. Then again, that's true with every X-Pack. I would like to see a little bit more specialization and a bit of an overhaul with the professions. I think this is a good thing. Professions will get some crafting items from dungeon loot. Okay. I would rather see it in dungeon loot than, say, raid loot, because raid loot kind of keeps certain people out of it, like myself, who does not raid. I like that idea. I also like the fact that, you know, dungeons generally, especially heroics, reset on a daily basis, while raids reset on a weekly basis. So if you want to grind it, you got 7 opportunities, do it once a day as opposed to once a week. Good idea, Blizzard. Professions won't have daily cooldowns. I don't have a problem with this. I mean, they usually eliminate the cooldowns at the end of an X-Pack anyway. Why not just do it from the beginning? You know, and if somebody wants to grind things out and earn gold, hey, it could give them an edge in game, but it could also pay their sub fee. Not a bad idea in my book. Last part about professions, prospecting could make a return. Well, I kind of thought prospecting, just because of that RNG factor, was kind of annoying, especially as you're trying to level up jewel crafting, because everybody who knows anything about the game is like, okay, let's charge an outrageous price for this particular mat that you can only get from prospecting, or most likely get from prospecting. That whole RNG factor, I hate RNG factor. I wish Blizzard would just delete that aspect of the game. It worked when you worked with a time sync business model, but this is not a time sync business model by anyone's stretch of imagination anymore, nor is any other MMO like that or any other viable MMO played by the masses. They could make it interesting, though, and they could make it fun, so let's see. This remains to be seen. Now, the last part I want to talk about, transmogs. If the new transmog system is account-wide, this gets me excited right off the bat. Account-wide. The item must be usable by the class trying to use it, which makes perfect sense. I wish they just removed that if part from the beginning of the sentence. There were always two things that gave me an attachment to a particular character. One was the mounts that I got, because prior to MOP, mounts were not account bound. MOP, they made all the mounts account bound. I thought that was awesome. So that was always something that made me attached to a particular character. For example, my hunter, Luxeley, was the only toon that had the mount that drops out of the flaming place, blah, 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 blah. I can't think of the name. You know, that the Baron's mount. He was the only toon that had it. So I had a personal attachment to that hunter because of that. And he also was the only one that got the mount at a Karazhan. So I always had a personal attachment because those two mounts were just on that character. And then all of a sudden, boom, and MOP, it was like everybody has that, and that was great. The other thing that gives me a little bit of a personal attachment now to each particular character are the transmog sets that I grinded out. Particularly for, I did a lot of stuff on my hunter Luxeley, a lot of stuff on my human priest Viserion. So I have even my mage, which you guys never really saw a lot of gameplay of. I have a ton of transmogs for my mage, including the Grand Marshal set, which I'm able to transmog, and I just love it. But opening that stuff up account-wide is just great. No tabard tab is currently planned, but the new transmog system should help to clear up some space. All right. I've never been a big guy on tabards, just because the really cool ones were kind of hard to get. And I've always, was a bit conflicted with the idea, do I show tabards in my transmog videos or do I not? I've always opted not to show them because the idea was to show off the gear, not the tabard. But I know there are a lot of people that like tabards out there. When I first started playing the game, I really, really liked tabards. But I don't know. They do look kind of funny on a caster class, which is usually what I play, as opposed to a play class. So I kind of lost my appetite or my enthusiasm for tabards as they went on, quite frankly. Multi-strike is being removed, and other secondary stats will have changes as well. I think the whole purpose here is that they want to better tune the game. And I think the game is fine if you just have 3 secondary stats: crit, haste, and, of course, mastery. If you want to tweak the other ones, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I'm all for balancing the game. That's what that statement suggests. Balancing the game. Sign me up when it comes to that. I'm a PvPer. That's what I want to hear. That's what I like to hear. Sign me up. Players can still only equip 3 profession crafted items. I don't know why that's in the transmog section here, but I never really wore a lot of crafted items because I don't raid, so personally this doesn't affect me. For you guys who do raid, let me know if this is something that gimps you or not. I don't think that it does, and I don't know why Blizzard's doing it. I think there's some sort of reason somewhere, somehow, but we shall see. To me, this is a non-event. To others, it may not be, so leave it in the comments if this is something that's a bit troublesome for you. There won't be specific item art for each race and class, as artifact weapon art is the priority. I have mixed feelings about this. I do know that there's so many things that you could grind out from Kata, from BC, from MOP, and just tons of stuff that you could transmog. And if they're going to make stuff account-wide, I don't have a problem with this. But it does seem like a bit of a cop-out. This is kind of the first step of a cop-out for Blizzard. This kind of concerns me a little bit. It's almost like saying, well, you know, we got to start cutting corners somewhere. This is where we're going to do it so we can get things out in time. And keep in mind, that's exactly what it sounds like. And that's a bit troublesome because first it's a little thing, then it's a little bigger, then the next thing you know, no new faction cities. You know, or Tanink Jungle is no longer a leveling zone. It's going to be a free-for-all, you know, patch 6.2 zone. And then we'll just get rid of Farallon because nobody really likes it anyway. We don't even know if we like it. We never saw it. This bothers me. If the buck stops here, no problem. But I have a feeling the buck isn't stopping here. And next thing you're gonna hear is, well, you know, we're only gonna have one spec for Demon Hunters. It doesn't make sense for them to be tanks, and so on and so on. I hope this doesn't have a domino effect. You know, right off the bat, I got that knee-jerk negativity because that's just what I've been used to with Blizzard since probably mid-Kata. We'll see what happens. Dungeons will absolutely be relevant again. I'm not a big dungeon guy. I'll be more likely to do dungeons and heroics than I will to do raids. I'm all for this. They can tell a story in a dungeon. It's something you can get in, something you can get in and out of in 20 minutes, a half-hour time usually. You get some loot, get some gold. I like this idea. I kind of do. And I was even a bit disappointed when they introduced scenarios and MOP because it took away from dungeons. I would have rather seen more dungeons than scenarios. And they're not going back to that scenario thing, so if they want to make dungeons more relevant, sign me up. Illidan is ready to lead Demon Hunters against the Burning Legion. Well, that suggests that Illidan is going to be a good guy as opposed to a bad guy. And I think this is going to make a lot of the lore nerds very happy. I didn't know Blizzard was in contact with Illidan because he's supposed to be dead, but apparently they are. This is a pretty cool thing. I think this lore is going to be really, really cool and a very, very strong aspect of Legion. The park in Stormwind, Luxeley can read, Stormwind won't be repaired yet. Well, I guess that's typical municipality. I mean, what, Kata, you know, it got blown up in Kata, which was probably 2010. So you're looking at 5 years to fix the Stormwind Park. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, no problem. There are plans for Jaina. What are the plans for Jaina? She's going to hook up on Match.com. She's going to become a maid. She's going to become a stripper. She's going to become a nun. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen more plans for Jaina in WoD, just simply because of how things ended at the end of the Siege of Orgrimmar raid. I kind of thought Jaina was going to have a much, much bigger role in WoD as a result of that. You know, crazy Jaina coming out. But that's the thing. I think Jaina might go bots. You know, really just go over the edge. You know, Jaina, I don't think is going to step up and be a hero and kick ass. I think she's going to step up and do something pretty bad. So stay tuned for that. Could be very interesting. The backpack might be updated. I don't know what that means. Warlords was not a filler expansion and built some things that will be used going forward. Bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. If you go back and you look at the original announcement for Warlords of Draenor at the 2013 BlizzCon, and you listen to all the different things that they were proposing to bring into Warlords of Draenor, more than half of the stuff they mentioned never made it to the game. That is huge. That is astronomical. And that's something you've heard stitched and weaved throughout WoD. They drop stuff, they let stuff go. And I never really realized how much they dropped out. It was a ton. It was a lot. Go back, find it on YouTube, take a peek. You'll see what I mean. But the reason I made this quick video, I wanted to talk about some of these things because they're really, really cool. I've been very negative and down on Blizzard, and like I said, people think, oh, you know, Luxley's being negative, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? I'm just telling the truth. I tell it as I see it. I tell it like it is. I say things a lot of other YouTubers might not have the guts to say or might not even have the vision to say. But the point is, when you talk about negative stuff, you also got to talk about the positive stuff. And there's a lot of positive pieces of information in this very small press release that I kind of bumped into on MMO. This is Luxley saying, whatever it is by you, morning, afternoon, or night, make it great. Luxley out.